What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you are, make sure you click that like button and that subscribe button down in the lower right-hand corner. Really helps YouTube know that this channel is still alive, and so I would appreciate that. Long running Twitter interference, I'll call it. I knew that it was going to eventually backfire, and I still think it will. The primary issue I have with Twitter and their censorship and selective rule enforcing and shadow banning is simply that it's not enforced evenly, and also that it's not protected by Section 230. Primarily, you don't have to be an expert on every little line of Section 230. Here's what, maybe a difference between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law, but here's the spirit of the law. If you're a platform, you not be held liable for something that happens on your platform. If you're a cell phone provider and somebody plans something terrible using a Verizon cell phone, Verizon can't be held accountable. Same for Twitter, right? If Twitter just provides a platform and something bad happens on it, it's not Twitter's fault since they are just a platform. Now, late in 2020, Twitter decided that it wanted to start acting like a publisher by reverse publishing things. What does that mean? Well, it was, banning users, uneven enforcement of rules, adding the fact check denotation or notation below texts or below tweets. These are things a publisher would actually do, and in my opinion, would create an opportunity for Twitter to be held legally liable for things in these particular cases. Well, this morning, police raided Twitter offices located in India in probe of tweets with, quote, manipulated media label. Now, the PD raided the offices of Twitter India in Delhi and Gurgaon, on Monday as part of an investigation into why a so-called toolkit of information about the coup were labeled as manipulated media. The Indian Express reported an officer told the media outlet that police had sent notice to Twitter demanding an explanation for the label of a ruling party member's tweet, just like, for example, Donald Trump getting labeled, right? And that it was seeking, quote, information Twitter has about the toolkit and why they chose to say it was manipulated. Essentially saying, okay, Twitter, since you're an expert on this, we'd like to know how exactly you know that it's manipulated media or that it's false. Twitter declined to comment Monday that there were no, and of course, there were no employees in the building at the time. Maybe that was all for show, to be honest with you. On Friday, the Indian government sent a notice to Twitter 2 days after the social media platform applied the manipulated media label to a tweet by Sambit Patra of India's ruling BJP party. Patra said in the tweet, which appears to have been removed, that the opposition party, Congress, had used a toolkit in attempts to undermine the government's handling of the coup. The government asked Twitter to remove the label out of fairness and equality. Again, this is not a judgment on whether or not it was correct. Or, I'm sorry, this is not a statement on whether or not what this person said is true or not. My commentary starts and stops with Twitter, the corporation, getting involved in local, in politics and getting involved in, this is clear publisher behavior. Twitter introduced its manipulated media policy last February, which applies to media shared on the platform that has been, quote, significantly and deceptively altered or fabricated. Video clips or images that have been altered, changed their meaning or their context could get a label. And false content presented as true or content found to be likely to impact public safety or cause serious harm could be removed entirely under the rules. Twitter applied this label to several tweets by former U.S. President Donald Trump, who has since been banned from the platform. India's government has tried to keep tight control over information on social media concerning the coup. Last month, the government ordered Twitter to remove tweets and told Facebook and Instagram to take down posts that were critical of its handling of the lockdowns and COOF. And in March, India's government threatened to jail Facebook, WhatsApp, and Twitter employees in the country if they failed to comply with its requests to take down content about the protests by farmers. Remember that when Greta Thunberg accidentally tweeted out the literal propaganda that these Western celebrities were getting involved. Again, there is a major issue going on right now in India. You have, according to John Hopkins, India reported 222,000 new cases on Monday, with 4,400 of them fatal. Obviously, a tough time. I know I have some Indian viewers out there, but I also know that India's politics are extremely complicated, and I'm not an Indian civilian, so me getting involved in them would be dumb. Almost as dumb as a super huge mega corporation like Twitter getting involved in them and censoring or removing things based on their knowledge. I mean, is Twitter a doctor? I don't know. Does Twitter have some information? You see here, Delhi police, controlled by India's central government, on Monday evening visited 2 offices of Twitter in the national capital of Delhi in neighboring state of Haryana. To seek more information about Twitter's rationale to label one of the tweets by ruling party BJP spokesperson as manipulated media. This is exactly like what they did with Trump. And again, I don't know if it was or I wasn't, but I don't think Twitter should be getting involved in this. An hour into the search attempt, Delhi PD special cell team, which investigates all sorts of stuff, vacated Twitter offices because they were closed and there were no employees to engage with at the premises, according to a live broadcast with several local news channels. By the way, this was all a show. I would assume that that law enforcement knew that the offices were empty. I assume that law enforcement also called the press to make sure the press was there and live stream that. This is all a show, all right? A Twitter spokesperson declined to comment. India, the world's second largest internet market. Wow, is it second largest? I mean, I knew it was big, but dang. Is a key overseas region for Twitter and many other American technology firms. New Delhi sent notice to Twitter last week after the social network labeled a tweet from Sambit Patra, a spokesperson for India's ruling party, as manipulated media. We know that. In the tweet, he had made a claim, right? You see here video, Delhi's police returns after they find the Twitter offices empty. I'm sure they already knew. Delhi police is inquiring into a complaint in which the clarification is sought from Twitter regarding the classification of a tweet as manipulative. It appears Twitter has some information which is not known to us, on the basis of which they've classified it as such, Delhi police said in an earlier statement to local TV channels and other journalists. The information is relevant to the inquiry. So let's take this at face value, right? Essentially, had done this in the United States, if they had done this in the United States, if they had labeled a political leader's tweet as manipulated or untrue or fact check it, surely Twitter had the facts, right? That's what they're saying here in India. They're saying, well, if you know this isn't true, then can you show us? And you see several policy executives and the like question Delhi's motives as India seeks priority assistance from the international community and especially from the U.S. I guess this is one way to convince him that it's focused on the real problem at hand. Obviously sarcastic. Labeling a ruling party spokesman's tweet as containing manipulated media? Well, the union government will send in the special cell stormtroopers of the Delhi police to your India subsidiaries office in the National Capital Regional to show you what's what. Blatant authoritarianism. This would be funny if it wasn't tragic. They know there's no data physically stored at Twitter offices, hence the purpose of the raid is nothing but intimidation, as I suspected. And you see some comments on it as well. You see a raid on Twitter. Have you lost your Have you lost it? Are bothered about the pride and prestige of the country? You want to make my country a laughingstock? This will backfire. More tweets here. The only justifiable reason for them to raid Twitter is if they're hiding pokes in there. This terrifying raid on Twitter offices by the Delhi police is a tipping point in the further erosion of democratic norms in India. This comes a day before the draconian new social media rules come into play and a day after Twitter marked a post as social media manipulation. What the heck is happening? Why are raids being conducted at the Twitter office in India by the government? Yeah, well, here's the thing. I can't agree or disagree with this, but what I can say is maybe super huge Silicon Valley corporations should stay out of government matters. Maybe they should be a platform. This is the kind of mess you get into. Now, was it misinformation? Well, it seems like some people think it is, but this whole thing is just a dog and pony show anyway, and Twitter really should just be staying out of it. But, if they get sued into oblivion or blocked from India, I'm not going to care about it. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.